Welcome to everybody in Charlotte. I'm Meredith Dean, your host at Marinator. We bring in every single week amazing people in Charlotte, and Austin Daniels is one of those. We have this incredible product manager at Method. You're a Charlotte native, and also you're a data scientist. Can I call
Eh,
you that? Data
in
analyst?
in a way, I've done some like upskilling on my own, so I call myself a poor man's data scientist.
I love that. And we just got back from Bali and Singapore almost a month ago now.
Gosh, no, it was a full
Yeah,
month.
it's almost been a month.
It's been too long.
I know, it's crazy.
Time flies. Let's go back. You want to go back?
I'm ready to go back literally tomorrow. I'd be so ready. So tell me more about you, one, because you've seen Charlotte change a lot over time. And the show is everybody in Charlotte. So I want to hear about your favorite places and how you've seen the city change.
Oh yeah, this city is not what it used to be. I got a really close knit group of friends from like middle school and high school, and I remember like we were getting to the end of high school, like man, we're all getting out of Charlotte. Charlotte sucks, but then we all went to different colleges. And we all somehow wound up right back in Charlotte. And once they put in the light rail, the development started happening. South End started blowing up, and we're all here and we love the city. So it's
Yeah.
been crazy to see. Like even growing up, like our parents were like, "Don't go to South End. It's not safe. Don't," because it wasn't. Like it was. The city has just seen so much change, especially now, like in North Charlotte too. Like that's another place you wouldn't really go a lot to unless you were bumping all the way up to Huntersville. But now I just bought a house there, so it's crazy.
And you bought your house. So what was that process like? Because people are saying it's so hard to buy a house in Charlotte now. And you're young too. You're in your, early 30s. So
Yeah, I got really lucky and I've been saving ever since I started working. So that was just kind of one of my like long-term goals was set aside so I can buy a house. That was always important to me. I'm not much of a cars person. So
mhm.
like I was able to save for that, which was good.
That's so great. And what are your favorite places that you go to in Charlotte?
Ooh, I'm a big fan of the Whitewater Center. Doing like Tuck Fest and River Jam in the summer, just getting in a chair, listening to some live music, a little bit of people watching, a little bit of nature, watch people go by on the rapids is always good.
It almost feels like you're not in Charlotte too. It's like a little
Yeah,
vacation,
it's
little
an
mini
escape out
vacation.
to nature, but it's only 20 minutes away.
Yep.
Um, what else do I love? I've been doing Top Golf a lot recently, but
You have.
that's just kind of a nice little perk that my company offers, so we get to play for free every now and then. What else have I been doing? What's been really good has been Charlotte's expansion of restaurants. Like even up until 3 years ago, our restaurant scene was really not all that good.
Yeah, I'm
So
with
I've
you.
been actually like jumping in and trying to hit more new restaurants.
And there's so many new things that are popping up all the time. And
It's
not just chains. I feel like there's a
no.
lot of new ideas and good things that are coming our way.
Yeah,
So
it's good to be in Charlotte right now. A lot of things booming and almost too much to do, which is a good thing sometimes.
I totally agree. And I want to hear more about, so you're this professional, you're working all the time, but you also travel a lot. So you're able to play a little bit. What do you think travel has done for you with your own career?
Ooh. Um, so as a product manager, we need to look at things from a lot of different perspectives. And so having just a breadth of ways you can see things and or information that feeds into those perspectives, I think is really helpful when it comes to travel. Because when you go and see things in other parts of the world, you realize how like biased you are in your own bubble. So because there's different culture tendencies, different types of people, and different ways about going about different problems or aspects of life. And so being able to see those and interact with those and sometimes even sit in those, like if you go do a long vacation, you can really start to be a part of the culture that you're in, which then allows you to kind of shift and see things differently and understand them fully, which then you can bring back to work, which um, is fun. But also the great part about traveling is just seeing everything that can be different from what you think you know.
Yes. Do you think that you have a really good story, like one of your main travel stories that has shaped who you are now?
Oh man.
I know it's a deep one. And there's so many of them too.
I don't know if I have nothing that stands out distinctly for like this one moment caused this one thing. But in 2022, I did solo traveling in Europe for 3 months. And so being able to be hyper flexible in the amount of travel that I needed to do, as well as bouncing from the different cultures and like histories that are like sometimes less than a state away, but yet so different, and how they go about life being different, staying flexible, and then also just like the constant reemergence. I would try and stay for like a full week, so I would understand how that city moves, and so being able to like, okay, like London moves very fast. It's like New York, but then going to Dubrovnik, Croatia, which is like right on the water, and you're kind of in this it's a walled city. It's where they did Game of
Game of
Thrones,
Thrones. We love Game of Thrones. House
right?
of Dragon just came out the new season.
But also still a little bit slower pace of life. So
Yeah.
bouncing between those different aspects, and I don't know, what was the original question?
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Yes, you were able to fully immerse yourself, and I like that you're really good at connecting to different cultures too, no matter where people come from. What are the 3 top travel tips you would give someone?
Mm,
And I feel like you were also a really good resource for our Bali travelers. I took, a group of Dean's List travelers over there, and you were really good to help people with even talking about the flight and jet lag and all of that.
yeah,
So,
jet lag's definitely my number one advice tip, just because it's brutal if you don't do it right. But at the end of the day, you can't prevent it at all. Like it's gonna happen somewhat, just about like how bad.
right?
And my general tip is get on the time zone you're traveling to before you go, which means you're probably gonna suffer in the airport and on the airplane. But the reason why you travel is to experience the thing at the location. So to me, the trade off is like worth it, to where like I'll be super tired or like trying to stay up on the flights so that way I can get in sync sooner. But then once you're there, you can experience where you're there, as opposed to getting there, being jet lagged, and then just napping for that whole first day or second day or whatever it may be.
Any tips on sleeping on the plane?
Oh no, no, to get a bigger seat
There
if
you
you
go.
can, but I usually don't. Maybe go for the aisle seat if you like to stretch out. I guess another one is, and this one takes a little bit to getting used to, is like you have the right to go and get up from your seat. So like sometimes you might have to bother people to get up and move up and down the aisle. So doing that frequently, but then also like just being okay with like, hey, yeah, I got to do this for me. Can be a little tough
And then
sometimes.
stretching
Yeah.
out there in the center. That's what we definitely had to do the whole time. What about packing? I could not get over. I'm definitely someone that packs a lot when I travel, just because I'm a girl too. There's a lot of outfits I need to wear, but
Yep.
for you, you just were bringing this like carry on in a backpack. How do you pack smarter?
I think it's more so. Well, again, there's like the girl side of things where it's like, okay, I have to have a new out for everything. Whereas like a guy, I mean, it's like, okay, I can wear this pair of shorts maybe twice as long as I don't get super sweaty with 2 different like shirts, and that creates 4 different combinations. You know what I'm saying? So being able to condense your outfits in that way, but then also, honestly, there's really only 2 ways to efficiently pack. It's either lay things as flat as you can, or do like the rolling up into a ball, because anytime you fold, that creates a crease, and that crease is like going to take up more space than if it wasn't. So the analogy I give is you can't fold a piece of paper more than 8 times, I think it is, or maybe it's 9, because eventually you get to a point where your folds are bumping up against other folds and you can't move any further.
That's a good way to do it. I mean, I'm definitely a roller for sure.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
a good
good.
method.
I love that. Any other tips? Any other travel things that you want to mention?
Mm. Go have fun. Go enjoy it and go do it. You don't know when. I actually talked to a lady when I was in Dubai last November. She was, gosh, she was probably 70, in her 70s. And she was like, go travel now, because you don't know if a country is going to exist in the future. Because she had been traveling her whole life. And she was like, yeah, I've been to countries that no longer exist.
That's
So,
a deep one too. I remember you
yeah.
talking about this woman. Yeah, that's incredible. I'd never really thought about it like that.
Yeah.
And there, I mean, countries will change over time, but also weather patterns. You think about how Venice is sinking and
Mm-hmm.
other places. What if it's not there when
Yeah.
yeah,
And they always joke about how like Charleston's going to be underwater in, 40, 50 years.
yeah,
So,
exactly. That's a good point. We love that. Thank you, Dubai woman.
yes.
What's her name again?
Oh, I don't have her name.
Can't remember the name. Okay, but great woman. Got it. What is your biggest accomplishment? There is something that you did with Method, I believe, or maybe at one of the startups that you were at.
Yeah. So, professionally, one of my greatest accomplishments, I'm very proud of it. I worked at a startup of less than 10 people before coming to work at Method, and we were building what were digital therapeutics. So, at that time, very futuristic, as far as the marketplace and healthcare. And one of them that we built was the first digital therapeutic for prostate cancer.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And where did you get the idea for this?
Um, we were shuffling around a lot of different ideas. The person who funded our company wanted to create some sort of company that dealt with increasing uh, the quality of life through the later stages of life. So starting with that premise, we eventually got down into, okay, well, how can we actually impact healthcare itself? And from there, it's like, okay, well, what's an innovative step that healthcare can take? And digital therapeutics is a way that people could interact with their own care in a more digital form, because hospitals and everything else are still way behind. They still use fax machines. So one of our products was a cardiac rehab product, and simply all we did was allow them to do cardiac rehab from home. So think about how we can work from home, but it's now cardiac rehab that you can do from home. And we saw 3 times the participation rate simply by putting them on a Zoom call, giving them a remote blood pressure cuff that they can do at home, and it sends it directly to the hospital, as opposed to somebody coming in, driving an hour to their cardiac rehab, driving an hour to come back home. Most people aren't going to do that. So taking those general principles and guidelines, because the term digital therapeutic is very wide, and still working on its definition. But for the prostate cancer aspect was like, okay, well, how can we better provide care on a day-to-day basis instead of going to see your doctor, every 3 months for your checkup or your 2 weeks for everything else, but then also give notifications and reminders and incentives to get those people to do their care so that they can better take care of themselves. And then also the hospital has less of a burden whenever they're dealing with that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of you. And this shows also how dynamic of a human that you are. We're talking about healthcare and talking about making processes more simple. And then on top of that, being a Charlotte native, and then also you're a big basketball player too.
Well,
Used,
I play
used to be.
basketball. I don't know. I love basketball. It's one of my favorite sports. I think actually today one of my friends posted a LinkedIn article about like how basketball kind of embodies life. Like when you get out on the court, it tells you a lot about somebody on how they play the game, but also how they interact with the nuances of the game. Like there's certain people who may call these tic-tac fouls and they think that they're always, everything's against them, or you have people who are much more collaborative, so be sure to screen for somebody else as opposed to just screening for the ball or screening to get for them open, as well as the game has this dynamic of it's a constant push and pull because you're navigating the defense and predicting where they're going to go, and so you're trying to stay a step ahead, but also still be in cohesion with your own teammates at the same time. So it's a really interesting dance.
It's an analogy for life. And yeah, basketball can tell a lot about someone's personality. I like that.
Yeah.
And as we're kind of wrapping things up here, which is crazy, I know it already is ending so quickly, but what is something maybe that you want to share that we haven't touched on yet? That's something that's important to you or is on your heart?
Mm. I think right now, this past week, I had somebody within my closer community. I wasn't super close with him, but he was age 33. He passed away. And,
Sorry.
I think a perspective that we all need to keep and sometimes get reminded of, even myself, is like, you know, we're not always promised, 20 years from now. We're always promised 10 years from now. So that's part of the reason why I like to travel is like going and embody that, living somewhat now. I also understand we got to delay some gratifications, but we're not promised tomorrow, as well as like how you impact other people, I think is really important. So keeping note of that and knowing that, each day is a blessing.
Amen. Yeah, could not agree with that more.
Yeah.
And glad that we got the chance to travel. And, I'm excited about all the things that you're going to do going forward. So thank you for being on Everybody in Charlotte.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, y'all, you can go ahead and record your own episode here at Everybody Studios, or if you have a creative project, you can reach out to us to book a tour. Once again, I'm Meredith Dean, your host for Everybody in Charlotte, and we'll bring on another amazing human like Austin next week. We'll see you next time.